Hello and welcome to Foundations of Business, Chapter 11, Human Resource Management video lecture. In this, we will have learning objectives that include identify 4 contemporary human resources HR challenges and discuss the evolving role of HR, discuss the challenges and advantages of a diverse workforce, and identify 5 major dimensions of workforce diversity. Describe 3 phases involved in managing the employment life cycle. Explain the steps used to develop and evaluate employees. Describe the major elements of employee compensation, benefits, and support services. Characterize the role of labor unions in today's business world. And describe the use of workforce analytics in HR management. Remember, even though we won't get through all the slides, you're responsible for all these learning objectives for this chapter. Okay, first thing, human resources, HR management. The specialized function of planning how to obtain employees, oversee their training, evaluate them, and compensate them. Sexual harassment, unwelcome sexual advances, requests for sexual favors, or other verbal or physical conduct of sexual nature within the workplace. The key thing here, besides the word sexual for sexual harassment, is unwelcome. Okay? So many companies have created contracts that both people must sign, stating that you both are in agreement that you're dating, that you're having a more than professional relationship. Okay? Uh, Other ways of dealing with it is that it forbids any type of relationship other than professional between 2 employees at work. Okay, so there are legal ways of recognizing that people that work together oftentimes develop a relationship that's beyond professional, and this is how they're dealing with it. Glass ceiling, an invisible barrier attributed to subtle discrimination that keeps women and minorities, it should be and/or minorities, out of the top positions in business. There's not actually a ceiling, it's just called a glass ceiling because it's an invisible barrier that attributes to that. Work-life balance, you hear a lot of that today. These are efforts to help employees balance the competing demands of their personal and professional lives, especially since COVID-19 happened and many people worked from home. At what point do you stop working and start doing your personal life? And when does it go back and forth? And many people found that were so afraid of losing their jobs that their personal life went by the wayside so that they could work a great deal more than normal. Over time, though, this lessens and people actually either balance or the opposite, where they take more time for personal than professional. Quality of work life, QWL, an overall environment that results from job and work conditions. So it could be a high quality of work life or low quality or medium quality of work life. All depends on the conditions. Diversity, all characteristics and experiences that define each of us as individuals. It includes race, age, military experience, parental status, marital status, and thinking style. Sexism and discrimination based on gender, diversity and inclusion initiatives, programs and policies that help companies support diversity, workforce, and markets. Excuse me. Okay, managing diverse workforce, sexual harassment, unwelcome sexual advances, requests for sexual favors, verbal or physical conduct of a sexual nature within the workplace. It could be something as simple as somebody has a calendar on their wall that someone else finds offensive because of the pictures on it. Okay, and the pictures are of sexual nature. So that could be sexual harassment just because of that calendar. And the company, the organization has to have a policy on what that is, on what you're allowed to hang on your walls or have on your desk or your workspace, whatever it may be, so that there is no sexual harassment. Could be an inappropriate joke that's not funny to people of a different sexual orientation. That would be considered sexual harassment. Generations in the workplace. Greatest generation was born from 1901 to 1927. They're pretty much not in the workforce anymore, but you might find the smattering here or there. The silent generation, they are also pretty much no longer in the workforce. This is from 1928 to 1945. So, the youngest would be 75. So you might have a couple of people in this, but more than likely not. Baby boomers, 1946 to 1964. So the youngest baby boomers right now this year would be turning 56. So you still have many baby boomers in the workforce. In fact, the largest 2 years right now are age 61 and 62. So that's the largest number per year of the baby boom generation. So they still have another year to 5 years in the workforce before they'll be eligible for 100% retirement. Those 2 years, I'm sorry, the two biggest years. But as far as all of the baby boomer generation, 19 or 56 years of age is the youngest, and so they actually have 10 more years before they are eligible for full retirement, because you have to be 66 and so many months, depending on your birthday, to get full retirement. If you're a baby boomer. If you're younger than a baby boomer, if you're a Gen X, it may be later than 66. I believe for me it's 67 and a half or something like that. But as far as my pension goes with ECU, they have the rule of 90, which means you add your age to the number of years that you've worked as a full-time employee, and that has to equal 90 before you get 100% of your pension. So for me, that would be age 72. So I have a long way to go before I'm 100% eligible for retirement as far as the pension is concerned. Millennials were born from 1981 to 1996. And then the post-millennials, which we call Generation Z, were born from 1997, and they don't have an end date, an end year as of yet. It's probably going to be 2009 or 10 because of the Great Recession. Usually things change, or the years end because something happened in society. 1964, right after President Kennedy was assassinated, so the following year they ended the baby boomer generation. 1980s, when Ronald Reagan came into office and Jimmy Carter left, and we had the Iran hostage event, 444 days of the hostages in Iran at the embassy. And so that ended, and a new era came in with Reagan. Also, the oil embargoes and all the oil shortages and gas shortages, that ended as well, right around 1980 to 79, thereabouts. So that was a major change there. 96 ended because 97, 98, 99 was the booming dot-com internet era. Even though the internet era started before that, it really didn't take off till around 97. So that's why millennials end in 96. And we haven't, that's why I said the major event, they might not end it in 09 or 10 just because that's only 8 or 9 years. I'm sorry, 13 years, 12 or 13 years. But back here, 65 to 80, that was only 14 years. So it'll either end around 2009, 2010, or they may take it to 2020 because of COVID. So that's a very long generation there. So I'm not sure what they'll do with that. Time will tell. Job description, statement of the task involved in given a job, and the conditions under which the job holder of a job will work. Job specification, statement describing the kind of person who would be best for a given job. So description and specification are different. Description are the tasks involved in a given job and conditions that the person will be experiencing. Specifications are the type of person who would be best for a given job, including skills, education, and previous experience that the job requires. It'd be good to know the difference between those two. Evaluation requirements, tasks involved in a given job, and the conditions under which the holder of a job will work is the job description. Specification describes the kind of person who would be best for a given job, including that. And then we have steps in human resource planning. You have perform job analysis, which goes through every aspect of a given job and everything that it takes to perform that job. Then you write the description, and then you write the specifications, and then the demand for that job, and then the supply of employees. So if you look at the generations and you say, okay, 60% of our workforce are baby boomers, and they're all over the age of 58. Well, over the next 6 to 7, 8 years, if we're going to have to replace 60% of our workforce, then you should start recruiting people that fit the job specifications for that job, so that you can start training them, and then they can start replacing the people that are going to be retiring. If your workforce is 80% under the age of 40, you may not have this situation where you're trying to replace people, except the normal turnover. And then this is what it looks like. There's an example. And responsibilities and skill sets. Now, you have to be careful too. For example, ECU posted a recruiter position, and it's public knowledge, it's available to everybody. And the recruiter position had all these responsibilities and skill sets and everything else. And the other thing you have to be careful about is how much are you offering for pay. If you're offering market rate, then you should make that as one of your strengths, that you're right where the market is for that type of position. If you're under market rate, then it's going to be much harder to fill the position. So for the recruiter position, for example, if I remember correctly, it had a salary range of $26,000 to $28,000 with a bachelor degree required. And that's under market rate for a person with a bachelor degree. So they're going to have to recruit in special ways in order to find someone that would be interested in the recruiter job for that salary. Okay. Forecasting, turnover rate, and employee retention is what we said. If you're only offering a low wage, your retention rate normally is going to also be very low. If you have a high wage, normally your retention rate is pretty high. Not always. You could have a very poor working condition, or there could be some really good benefits of working there, and the low wage doesn't bother you because of the benefits. And then succession plan, like I was saying, if you have a lot of baby boomers, you should have a succession plan so that you're hiring and training people before the people that are there retire. And then a contingency, what happens? I mean, with COVID-19, what happens if all of a sudden you lose your workforce because it's a dangerous area to work because of the virus? Food service, retail, those types of things. All of a sudden you need a contingency plan to do that. And then the recruiting process is this model. Assemble candidates, screen them, interview them, compare them, investigate candidates to make sure what they say on their resume is accurate, and then make an offer. Okay, and that ends chapter 11. Hope you have a good day.